So today's tattoo was on Jason, and Jason wanted a pretty big piece on his ribs, some arrows going down the side. He was honestly pretty open about what he wanted. I know he had mentioned he wanted like pops of red in there and some kind of that like sketchy style that goes along with watercolor a lot of times, where it almost looks like it's part of like a sketch. So he was pretty open about what he wanted. So I got to have some creative freedom with that, which was fun, especially when it comes to watercolor. It's fun to make that organic movement. So as far as meaning, he really just wanted a cool piece of art. Sometimes we do tattoos here and they have a really significant story, or they're a memorial to someone, and we do some tattoos that have a lot of heavier, important meaning. Sometimes people just want some cool art, which is fun too. So we get a good mix of that. And so this one was one that he just wanted some cool art on his ribs. Well, he had some reference photos of people's arrow tattoos, and they were a little bit on the bolder side. So I did want to make these arrows, kind of bold, and I thought that would contrast well with the watercolors. So, really I start by designing the main arrow, the centerpiece, and then I kind of from that wanted to create two arrows on the side just to kind of balance it a little bit and make the design a little bit bigger. So started designing the arrows, and then I went with the watercolor next because I wanted to create some cool shapes with the watercolor, and as well as some movement. Maybe picture the arrows flying through air and how the watercolor would be coming off of the arrows themselves. And then after that, it was just a matter of shading. And like I said, we did some bold shading for this tattoo to contrast well with our watercolor.
Now, tell me about tattooing the ribs.
Tattooing the ribs is a challenge. For one thing, when you put the stencil on, it's the size you want it, but then you have your client stretch out, and the skin stretches quite a bit, so the tattoo gets bigger. It's a pretty painful area, so it's a tough day for the client as well. Luckily, Jason sat like a rock, so he made my job super easy. And beyond that, just the space. It's kind of awkward the way you have to tattoo ribs, and it does make for a challenging day. But clients like Jason make it a little easier for sure.
So today I am seeing for the first time in quite a few years an old client and friend of mine named Carrie. Carrie reached out to me and asked me to do something that I don't generally do, which is multiple tattoos in a day. But the reasoning behind this one is pretty significant. Carrie was diagnosed with leukemia, and I kind of, through social media, watched her battle this monster and ultimately come out on top. So that was really, really good news. I remember running into her while she was going through it, and having a brief conversation with her actually at a Home Depot. And it was wild. It was just to see somebody that tough, just nose to the grindstone, like, I'm gonna get through this, and she did. So when she reached out to me, she said, hey, unique request, but me and a bunch of friends are looking to get small little dandelions. Here's the reference, do what you do kind of thing, and do you think that that's something you can do in a day? And I was like, well, how many are we talking about? So today I'm going to be doing 7 dandelion tattoos for her and 6 of her friends.
Today I got to finish an octopus tattoo we started a few months back. just essentially kind of what I'm known for, photorealism, black and gray, something with a lot of texture. So you'll see I kind of had the ability to use a multitude of different mag and shader combinations to really kind of get that depth of field and make everything look like it was kind of wet and had some bumps and stuff like that to kind of just make it look a little bit more organic and as if the tattoo could come off the skin. We have about, I'd say at this point, only 6 to 7 hours into the piece, 2 smaller sessions of about 3-ish hours right now. So a lot of times when I'm working into multiple sessions, stuff like this, I'll spend a majority, 80% of the time doing something new and about 20% of the time working back into what is pre-existing and what is already healed. Not only to create a larger depth of field by resaturating an extra layer of black over healed black, which tends to look a little darker gray after it's healed, but also too just to kind of smooth the threshold of what is healed and what is fresh, so that way when it all heals as a whole and we're finished, there's a little bit more continuity there. I think a tattoo like this, as far as the texture goes, is what makes it so bold and something that I really enjoy doing, and I think when I do it, what attracts people to it is the boldness of the contrast, how I'll intentionally use really dark recesses that are darker black to kind of pull the negative spaces of this tattoo forward. So as you see, there's a lot of shine to the front of the head and a few areas of the tentacles on the octopus, and that would essentially, what I see that as, is where the light is coming through the water and hitting it from one side. So I really think it's more of what I do tattoo makes as much of a difference as what I don't tattoo.
So like upgrades are always important around the studio. You know, one of the things we try to do is make sure that the first place that any sort of money that comes into the studio goes is back into what makes a good tattoo and what makes good tattooers happy. So this week we were really excited. We were able to upgrade chairs, and we were able to get what is considered to be like some of the nicest chairs out there. They're the Secret Lab chairs. Really expensive gaming chairs, but they're really nice. You know, I'm a firm believer that the nicer something is, the nicer a working environment is, the better tattoos will produce, you know, so it's little things like that. You know, we're really excited about it, and I think everybody else is excited about the upgrade too.